and welcome to Home for Christmas. Why are we home for Christmas? Because we have an epidemic called COVID-19. So all of us are home, locked down, with making things, memories and music for company. My sister was Pat Bishop. Pat was a musician, an artist, and an overall every woman. Pat Bishop loved Christmas. Christmas meant the world to her. It began in September and went right through until January. She loved giving gifts, she loved receiving gifts. And tonight, all the performers have agreed that their performance will go towards giving a child a gift. There are many, many children in our schools today who are unable to take full advantage of the online teaching and therefore have to be given these devices. And we hope these devices will help them to take advantage of all of the teaching that is being done online, and so that this year is not a wasted year, is not a lost year in terms of their own education. And we are hoping that this epidemic soon ends, but whether it ends now or later, these tablets will help them to advance their education. Now, another thing about Pat was that she absolutely hated the technology, hated the cell phone, hated the computer. So we wouldn't want to do something in her name that was so foreign to her spirit. So we decided we would give books in addition, because she loved books. We have one of our performers is Barbara Jenkins, who is a celebrated author, and she has been sourcing children's books, and we will be giving these as well. Many of us that you will see tonight are members of the Palm Foundation. That is the Pat Bishop Foundation for Art, Literature and Music. Many of us are Lydian singers, and some of us are educators, so that this education outreach is very important to not only them, but to all of us. So yes, this is Lydians and friends preparing for Christmas. I am doing the finishing touches to this tree that I made out of teak about 15 years ago, and this is the very last thing that I do. These icicles, which I lost for 2 years and which I found again. So Valerie downstairs, Valerie Taylor, is my Christmas sister, and she right now would be shining brass and getting herself ready for Christmas. She works late, so it means that she's going to be down to the wire. She probably just finished just before midnight, if I know her correctly. So this is us. So after this, we will go to Valerie.
So it's really nice to remember Pat at this time when, that's another part of Christmas. You always remember the people who are not with you at a time that is so happy and joyous. So it's really nice to remember Pat around Christmas time. And of course, I would think of Pat in terms of a Lydian concert, because for the last 20 years at least, that was part of getting into Christmas. But Pat was my teacher at Bishop Anstey High School, and I still tell people that a lot of what I think about as teaching and education, I think I owe to Pat. I think Pat was the teacher who understood how important it was to have a relationship, that it was not just about what you taught, but it was about the relationship you had with the people you taught. And I don't think there's anybody who was taught by Pat who could forget being taught by Pat, from whether it was her fanciful questions about what time it was. When it was time to ask what time it was, I cannot even repeat the horological, astrological string of questions that Pat would just put out there. And when we all looked dumbfounded, say, in other words, what time is it? And it really was a joy being taught by Pat, both in the classroom and later on. I think Pat had a vision for how education could fill the gap in terms of people developing their personalities, developing their full potential, and as a result, the country developing its full potential. So this is a nice time to think about Pat and to remember how much she put into making many people in Trinidad the people that they are today, and hopefully people who can contribute to a better Trinidad and Tobago. Okay, so you caught me on your way to Gillian, but what am I doing? 6 days before Christmas, I have a lot to do. What do I normally do? Around this time, the things that I really need to get done so that Christmas will be Christmas is to clean. I'm not much into the cooking, I'm not much into the baking, but I always said thank God for Christmas, as we will live in filth. So Christmas time, I enjoy myself, and I really do. I love it when I have the leisure to just sit down and clean my brass and all the little knickknacks I have around me, to wash them and polish them and put them away, and also to see about my plants. So I try to see about them all year round, but at Christmas they get a little extra earth and a little waking up and a little fixing up and cleaning up. So my traditional Christmas really is cleaning, and I will be very honest. When people start talking about last minute, I am not last minute, but I think this is probably where my history comes in. And Pat was my history teacher, and I'm really very into history, and I think as I get older I get more into the history. So I tell people this whole thing about being ready 2 weeks before Christmas and putting up a Christmas tree in September and October and November, all power to them, but that's not for me. I recognize that the old-time Christmas was something that took place 2 days before Christmas. And it took place 2 days before Christmas because that's the only time people had. People used to work. People worked 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. They didn't have time to go shopping. And also, they didn't have the money to spend on things beforehand. So it was the day before Christmas, Christmas Eve. And I remember it as a child, linoleum going up the road, painting going on, curtains happening. And when people say it's last minute, I say no. It just reminds me that there was a time when Trinidadians didn't have as much as they have now, and they really put everything they had, all their energy and all their money, into making Christmas Day really very special and very new. So the business of making brass shine rather than buying new stuff, making furniture, varnish and look new, I like that part of Christmas. I like the renewal that makes Christmas morning into a bright, shiny, magical time. So that's my traditional activity for Christmas.
So I warned you about Valerie and her closeness to Christmas, and she's doing a wonderful job polishing her brass. Then I'm going to take you to Grenada, to Randall, who is power washing his yard. After that, we go all the way to England, and Pat's 2 favorite baritones are organizing sweetbread and black cake and ordinary bread.
Well, yes, Lillians, I hope you're all hearing me, because this is me behind the house, what's going on for Christmas. And know, thinking about it, Pratt might have been proud to see me in the back there working with my power washer. Yeah, to do this drain and get it organized. So I want to wish you from Grenada, my backyard, all the very best for the season and into 2021. And so, in the spirit of Christmas, and wishing you all the best and in memory of Pratt. Cheers. You all have a blessed one. Take good care. I hope you can hear me above before I wash up, but I really hope it. So you all behave yourself now. Take care. Love you. Bye.
Yes, Sister G. This is black cake going on there heavy. Heavy black cake. Lucky boy, settle in the kitchen here. Busy. So you see, that's black cake. Here we have the coconut bake getting ready there. Watch it good. And we have sweetbread in the oven. Two sweetbread in there. Two. Right, so this is what we are doing here in UK for Christmas time. We will give you another clip when we go in the TV room and have a chat about Pat. Alright? Over for now.
What do you take for this? Oh, light above?
No, not working.
Really? That looks nice. Oh, done.
Yes, Sister G, this is the last leg now here. Last leg of our baking. So we can show you what we did today.
Wow.
That's our sweet bread, Trini sweet bread, coconut, raisin, mixed fruits, sultanas, you have currants. That's our Trini black cake. And then here we have freshly baked coconut bake. All these nice ones. Watch it and dribble. Watch it and dribble, Sister G.
Nice.
Yes, and so, from all of us here back in UK, we say happy and holy Christmas to you all. All the
Merry
Lydians,
Christmas to everyone.
Lydian Pan, Lydian Steel singers, everybody that we know. Have
Keep
a wonderful
warm.
Christmas. Yes, we will try to keep warm, even though it's wet and nasty.
Thanks, Benedict, and thanks, Celestian. Those memories of Pat were wonderful. The cake and the bread as well. But the memories were amazing. Thank you so much. So we're back home in Trinidad, where it is hot, and where my friend Barbara Jenkins is getting her pastel leaves, her banana leaves ready for her pastel. So she will show you those.
Lovely to see you, but hey, when I was having here painted, the fellow who came to paint it said, but we can't paint over this. I said, of course you can't paint over that. That's my grandchildren and their heights. Every time they come to visit, we have to mark off their heights. So he made a little frame, and then they came to visit afterwards, and they had grown out of the little square. So they're here now. The tallest one is my son up there, and the smallest one is my youngest grandchild, Saul. He's way down here. And then there is B. Then there is, everybody has grown up. Jack and Hugo and Elle and Sky and John and Sean and Paul. 9 grandchildren, 3 children, varying heights, changing. The real thing is though, every time I stand up here, I am shorter. I'm the only one who is not growing and growing backwards actually. Yes. It happens, you know, you just flatten as you get older. That's life. A lot else flattens. If you want to make pastels, you have to have fig leaf to wrap the pastels in. So I cut some fig leaves from the back and
And we have a lovely midriff now to throw, right? The midriff makes a nice little spare, but I'm not going to throw it because my aim isn't all that good. So I've got the bits of leaf now, and you can see nature has been there before me, okay? So they have to be cleaned. Washing them to get rid of, I suppose these look like little spider things, little spider shelters, because they're not exactly spider webs. Last year I couldn't use these at all because we have so many giant African snails, and they say that the slime gives what, meningitis or something. So last year I couldn't use my own leaves. I had to buy leaves, and I don't even know where I bought them, whether they have giant African snails or not. In the old days, we used to put the leaves over an open flame to soften them, but because the air is so polluted nowadays, I can't take the chance of putting burnt gas fumes on something that's going next to food. So instead I do it in hot water, and they soften perfectly well in the hot water. I think these might need turning now. Oh yes, this is lovely and pliable. You can just see this wrapping a pastel. It wasn't crisp before. Look at how nicely that folds now. Perfect, perfect. These are done. And in a way, I think it sort of sterilizes it too, apart from softening. When people say pastel making is a lot of hard work, they're absolutely right. So when I hear people grumbling about $20 or $25 for a good pastel, you think, oh, you try making it yourself, starting with cutting the leaves and preparing the leaves and preparing the cornmeal, preparing the meat and all the other filling. And you would think, that's a bargain. Gillian girl, in spite of everything, I'm making pastels this year. And I'm going to be thinking about you when I'm doing all of the hard work. And I'm going to drop a few off for you to taste my hand. It won't have pepper, I'm warning you. You'll have to add your own pepper. Thank you for inviting me to your Christmas event, Gillian. Have a wonderful, wonderful time. Bye.
Barbara, Babsy, in other words, I know those pastels are going to be wonderful. Thank you. So now, we go off from Trinidad to Maryland in the United States. And we're visiting the Semper sisters, whose grandmother taught Pat and myself when we were children. These two sisters have beautiful voices, and they sang with the Lydians for many years until they migrated to the United States. Lauren's daughter has just been awarded a fabulous scholarship. She's a very talented young woman, and they are still basking in the excitement of this young girl going into college.
We could sing that, man.
Nice.
much what we have done, Maynard, Semper, when we were in
Semper Scott.
Trinidad, and now Semper Scott. Here we are in the US. Years ago, Mrs. Maynard, Olga, would have us to her house on Christmas Eve, and we would gather, sing carols and so on around the piano. And so we've done that here. The other tradition that we have brought with us to the US is the Christmas tree, which really is a variation of a guava branch, which is what Barbara used to have at her home. So we have a guava branch, we invite friends over, and we prepare very festive fare for our friends. The other thing that we tend to do is we reminisce about those years when Granny was alive and Barbara was alive, and all three of us were singing with the Lydians. It was a big production for everybody to be ready for the call time, but also to get Mrs. Maynard in her wheelchair so she could come to the concert, and then to watch the pride in her eyes as she watched the director, her former student, and to see the love and respect in the eyes of the director, Pat Bishop, as she referred to Mrs. Maynard. The love between them was genuine and part of the celebration of who we are as a family, and as families connected to other families that are the life and energy of Trinidad and Tobago. And so though we are miles away, we still carry much of that with us in our singing, in our music, and in our very simple, humble fellowship with friends. So from our house to your house. Merry Christmas.
So this is the final, what I called icicle, but that is not a politically correct term. It's a droplet. Let's just erase icicle. That's not good. But I still want to thank Lauren, Liesl, and Jordan. Your Christmas this year will be cold, I know, but you're going to be warm and happy inside because you'll be together. Thank you. All of us who lived outside of Trinidad know what a stress it is to try to make callaloo abroad. Well, Gillian, our beloved coloratura soprano, who is now in Hamburg, Germany, employed to the Lion King, is doing her own callaloo with a lot of improvisation.
We have some sweet potato. This is me, ha ha ha. And I forgot to start showing you guys from the beginning of me cooking callaloo in Hamburg. And this is the callaloo. We've got some frozen okra. And also my friend found this callaloo in a tin, but it just had the leaves. And it's a Jamaican thing, and like I said, the recipe involves using egg, but we Trinidadians don't put egg in callaloo. So we'll see how it looks like at the end. So here I am grating the pumpkin in the callaloo. Yeah, I forgot to put the pumpkin in from before, but hello. And I'm grating some pumpkin in the callaloo because I forgot to put the pumpkin in earlier on. But this is an experiment, so don't hate on me, guys. Don't hate on me. Okay, bye. So look at this wooden spoon. You know, Trinidadians love a wooden spoon with their callaloo. And of course, a little swizzling, and I put it in a blender. But it's looking close up here. It's really looking like Trini callaloo. Look at that, guys. A surprise, and it didn't taste too bad. You know what I'm saying? So this is a little bit of me in Hamburg doing something Trini around Christmas time, making callaloo. So this will definitely be part of my lunch or dinner for Christmas. Hope you enjoyed. I know I didn't give you all the details from the top, but this is Jermaine in Hamburg doing something Trini. Bye!
Thank you, Gillian. I'd forgotten that you could clown your way out of any situation. Thanks again. And now I am going to show you how to brown honey as opposed to sugar. And then we go to the home of David Williams, where himself and his sister are going to be doing pastels. And we want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Williams for putting up with us. Thank you.
I am not a cook, but most of what I eat, I cook myself, which means I don't have a lot of time, and it must taste good. First thing I want to introduce you to is my seasoning blend, which is, look at it, pepper, ginger, chive, pimento, all kinds of good things, and blended without vinegar and without water. And that's my main seasoning. But one of the things I want to share with you is a little trick I've discovered, because I love honey and I don't have sugar in the house. So I'm going to show you how to use honey in place of sugar. People don't believe that I can do this, and they don't believe it works. And this is why I'm sharing it with you tonight. So this is extra virgin olive oil. So yes, so this is honey. And it's browning nicely, just like sugar, only better. And it's just about ready to receive, so breaks, because the chicken is coming in. I must tell you, I am getting good. I have no more chicken. So there we are. Chicken browned and on its way to a wonderful pilau for Boxing Day.
Pastels making here. Ready in high excitement. So we're going to do some mini pork pastels first, and then is beef pastel, then is pork, then is chicken pastel,
soy pastels,
some soya pastels,
and fish.
and some fish pastels. So it's whole night is pastels. We've been doing pastels all week. So
No sleep.
there's excitement here. first one for the night. So you're finishing up the pork pastels here. Moving on to some beef pastels. Things moving quick. There's a tester for me here.
I am an amateur cook, but Inka Williams is a professional cook. And if you're interested, she takes orders. Thank you very much, David and Inka. So this is the tree. I think we're finished, and I think I'm going to try and put on the lights now. Okay, a few little things still to fix, but we'll get it right. So this is my immediate family, one dog and one bird, and we're continuing with our Christmas, Home for Christmas segment number 2. The first segment, of course, I will remind you, these were people at home, polishing, cleaning, preparing, cooking. And now we're going to settle back and listen to some of Trinidad's best voices and all the memories that they want to share with us tonight this Christmas Eve.
Hi Gillian, thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy that we're able to have Christmas together, alone but together. 10 Christmases without Pat, and this is my 25th Christmas without my husband. But we're thinking about all the people whom we loved and who loved us, and through whom we love one another. So, we're making the best we can. Pat has been, I think, one of the biggest influences of my life. I think if I hadn't met Pat at that particular time in my life, I don't think I would have survived. You see, I came back home from the UK at Christmas time one year, and a friend took me to the Central Bank to hear the Lydians concert, and Eddie sang Friends in High Places. And I just couldn't stop crying. So, in January, I turned up at Bishop Hansi High School Hall, determined to be a Lydian. I thought I'd have to audition. I knew nothing about it. I thought, no, that fantastic choir, surely they only want proper voices. And since Mother Helen kicked me out of the convent choir, 50, 60 years before, I just knew that I couldn't make the grade to be the Lydians. But I went in, and somebody said, "Are you a new member?" And I said, yes, and I was a new member. That was it, I was a new member. Pat said, sit down there. Joanne, share the music. And I sat down, and I've been a Lydian ever since. I sort of knew Pat before. We were at Tranquility together, about the same time rather than together. But I didn't know her as a friend. And my husband had worked with her when she was with solid waste and he was at Tonic Country Planning. But we weren't friends. But she must have known something about me, because when we were doing Turandot pretty shortly afterwards, she said to me, I want you to do some writing. I want you to write for the booklet that is going to accompany this production. There was a little committee of us. She doesn't like committees, but she had a little committee set up. And we sat there, we did some research on the composer, about the piece of work, where it had been performed, the music, the performers, the people who were doing the stage design. Of course, Gillian was doing costumes. And we brought out a fantastic, thick booklet, not even a booklet, you should really say book, about Turandot. And thereafter, along with Marlene Davis, we were the scribes. We wrote booklets for every production after that. And we would go and sit in Pat's bedroom and chat with her about the production and what she wanted in it. And I learned that I had an ability to write that I didn't know was there. But somehow she had seen it or guessed it, and she made it happen. And I felt so confident after that. I remember when Bocas first started, and the very first year of Bocas. By then I had started at UWI, thinking of starting at UWI to do the MFA. And I had won a couple little short story competitions. And this, I went to her to read what I was going to be reading at Bocas for the emerging writers at lunchtime. And she loved it, and that gave me the confidence to go and read for strangers for the first time. I owe so much to Pat. And strangely enough, it's not about the music, but the camaraderie, because I never learned to sing. I would be the one of whom she would say, just shape the words, because my voice wasn't up to scratch. I would lean on Pat Whittle a lot for the singing, but when she went into the front row, I was completely lost. I would lean on Utilda, but when she went into the second row, I was even more lost. So I would stand there and mime the words and not spoil the singing. But she made me write. And I think I'm the only person who joined the Lydians to become a writer and not a singer. I'm going to be reading a short story, or bit of a short story, from my collection of short stories, Sick Transit Wagon and Other Stories. It's called Making Pastels in Dickens Land. And I've chosen this for Pat, who liked to cook, and for Paul, who liked to eat, and for the children who were present when this happened. I didn't stop to think. I just blurted out what jumped into my head. You're serious? With all that's happening right now, you're talking about making pastels? But I really want to make pastels, he said. Here? Yes. True. It was December. And what is a month for, if not to set grated ginger, cloves, cinnamon and water in an earthenware jar in the hot sunshine to concentrate your spicy zing? Separate blood-red sorrel sepals from their fat, spiky seed pods, and brew from them a tart, ruby beverage. Pack all manner of minced dried fruit into tall glass jars to soak in rum for the black cake. And above all, what was December for, if not to make pastels? But that was another time, another life. We made pastels on the weekend before Christmas Eve. Early on the Saturday morning, he took the cutlass out to the lush grove of banana trees that sprang out of the compost heap in the backyard. I looked down from the kitchen window now and again catching sight of his wide-brimmed West Indies cricket hat as the broad blades of the banana trees fanned the angled sunlight, first lighting, then shadowing him. He chose only perfect leaves, smooth and entire, not yet ravaged by time into ragged ribbons. The night dew, bright crystal balls, caught the blue sky and raced off the slick surface of the leaves, whole worlds of fortune spinning away. He held up the cut leaves, each big enough to screen all 6 foot of him, and every time he was lost to view, I could feel my breath stop a little till I caught sight of him again. With the care of one putting a sleeping baby in its cot, he laid the leaves one over one to build a pile, a dozen leaves high. He then ran the blade along the midribs. A grating shriek rose from the midribs as weft and warp parted, and the half leaves curled away from the blade, green waves breaking on a lone sea. Then I would go down and take him a drink of iced water in his Sraigoch tankard. As he turned towards me, I crossed my fingers to protect my good fortune. How lucky I was to have found him, an unexpected gift. How lucky that he left his own big country to live in mine, to make my little Caribbean island his. He smiled, sweat channeling down his face. He drained the tankard in long gulps. I stroked his cheek with the back of my hand. He bent his head and leaned to the touch. His shoulder was warm, sinewy through the thin, damp t-shirt. His thick brown mane fell over his eyes, screening their green depths. He lifted the half leaves and draped them across my outstretched arms, and I took them to the kitchen, to the hot work of tearing them into squares, softening them over a flame, transforming them from crisp and brittle to limp and pliable. I could hear him calling the children from the swings where they were waiting until this moment, when, with no cutlass flailing the air, it was safe. I watched as they played with the heap of pale midribs, catching glimpses of the make-believe spears, fletched with clinging leaf remnants, fluttering like festive bunting as they sailed towards their target, the wrinkled trunk of the big old flamboyant. But that was then. Yes, he said, couldn't we? But where would we find banana leaves in Southwark? We don't have to use banana leaves. We can use aluminium foil. People do that nowadays. You know that, even back home. My mother would turn in her grave. It was only an excuse. I couldn't voice the thought that he wasn't up to doing anything that called for much effort. Even getting ready to leave the house that morning would have taken twice as long as it did if the others, our adult children, hadn't been there to help. We talked as we walked the short distance to the train to take us to his last radiotherapy before the Christmas weekend. He held my arm, holding me close as if I was the one needing support. I cursed the cold air that bit through the dense wool layers, coat, scarf, jumper, vest and trousers into bones. I cursed the ice-licked pavement. I cursed the disease that was chewing him up from inside. I did not complain, and he didn't either, nor did we speak about his condition. Speaking it, the implications of it, would make it real, something to contend with. Later that evening, we 6 gathered for dinner. The talk ran to Christmas preparations. Your father wants pastels. I raised my eyes to heaven. Yum, pastels wouldn't be Christmas otherwise. Tomorrow, let's make them tomorrow. What about the cornmeal? I wondered whether no one but me was grounded in reality. We're sure to find cornmeal somewhere. The next morning we found no cornmeal in Southwark, but in nearby Elephant and Castle, a Colombian shop stocked raw cornmeal of a coarse variety. It was that or nothing, and the one thing it couldn't be was nothing. His smile lifted his thinned face. He had had a triumph. Something was working out.
Pat Bishop, to say a few words about Pat Bishop is impossible. She was a person larger than life. but I will try to capture in a few words some of my best memories of her. My first enduring memory was a carnival band, a kiddies carnival band, which Pat brought. We were about 7, 8, 9 years old at the time, and she was the leader. Everything was done and designed by her. I didn't meet her before. But the day I went down to the house, the bishop's house, to join the band for the first time, all the adults, particularly the women, were titivering all around the place, and I could hear them saying, "No, Pat doesn't want that. No, Pat doesn't want that. She wants it done this way." So I didn't know who this Pat was. And shortly after, this little girl, 8, 9 years old, came out and everybody started calling her Pat. So then I realized this child, like myself, was the leader of the band. And that struck me to this day, how all the adults, everybody was listening to what Pat wanted to do. She was in charge, and that impressed me since then. Later on in life, she went her way. She went off to England and studied, and so we separated for a while. Eventually, we got back together. I believe it was mainly through Minchell and his mass bands, because Pat and Minchell were bosom buddies since school days also. And from time to time, we would get together on something, and then one day she asked me if I would come and assist in managing the Lydian Singers Choir, which of course I did. You can't refuse Pat. Once Pat calls, you answer the call. So the first night I went, I sat out in the open yard at Bishop's school, and I listened to this choir. I've never heard a choir perform like that. And this was a rehearsal. So after the rehearsal, she asked me, "So what do you think?" I said, "You don't have a choir here. You have a village," because the activities and the exchanges after was real family oriented, and I was totally impressed. Now my understanding is that this video has to do with the children. And Gillian has told me, her sister Gillian has told me, that a book will be given to the children. Although we recognize that the technology is necessary and you must, get to the program, we also feel that books are vital for the learning, for children's learning. Pat herself had a cell phone at one time and got rid of it because she just did not like the technology. As I said, there's a lot that could be said, but I think those memories that I gave, some of the dearest memories I've had of Pat.
So I returned to Trinidad and Tobago at the end of December 1986 after spending several years studying in the States. And one of the teachers from my high school, QRC, was at that time responsible for keeping the Lydians going, Ms. Denise Stevenson. And she contacted me almost immediately and told me about the Lydians and asked me to come to join. And within about 2 weeks, my friend Glennis Yearwood came with her friend, Trevor Carrington, right to my door, picked me up, and took me to the Lydians for the first time, January 1987. got to the Lydians, and that is when I first met Pat Bishop. What a memory. We were preparing for the music festival at that time, and there was one of the songs that I don't know if people would have enjoyed that kind of music, but for me it was fantastic. It was called Let the Whole Creation Cry, a real 20th century kind of modern dissonant sounding thing, and we really went at it, gave it our best, and did very well. From then on until I actually started teaching, in a few years after that, I would observe Pat Bishop and all of her mannerisms and all of her comments and all of the things that she used to say and do to encourage us in choir, in life. And I adopted a lot of those things when I started teaching. Started teaching at St. Mary's College and encouraging the students. I realized I had to not just be myself, I couldn't get angry, for example. I know Pat would, in choir, she would encourage us, she would motivate us to do the best that we could by telling us stories. So I adopted some of those same kinds of approaches in my classes at school. She was a real mentor in the way that she lived her life, in the way that she spoke to us, in the way that she encouraged us. We would go from place to place. I know in those early days, Lydians was our life, especially my group, the Santa Cruz Posse. We would go to the mall, we would go to Lime, and they were practicing all the Christmas songs, Coral, Amber, Pearl, and Shell, and whatever, just to make sure that we got it right, because Pat didn't like us to use the paper at all. It was always from memory. What an enjoyable time we had. A number of other experiences we had along the way. I remember singing in the first Christmas concert that very same year. My sister tells me she was amazed at, seeing her little brother Eddie on the stage singing. I don't even remember the name of the song right now, but the kings, 3 kings from Persian lands afar. And we also did a lot of other things, a lot of other works, especially our work with Desperados, very, very memorable. I remember going up onto the Desper's Hill with Pat and hearing the pan really for the first time in my life, live and inside the pans. What an experience that was. That just kind of blew me away, made me feel really, really proud to be a Trinidadian. I know it's been about 10 years now since we've had Pat around for Christmas, and that 2010 Christmas we would have already been working, myself and Lyndian and Pat would have been working on the production of Winterizer, which was to be done the very next year. And it's been a long time since I've been able to even allow myself to listen to the work, because of course during the preparation for Winterizer, Pat passed. So that was a very difficult experience to go through. But even now, just thinking about the passion that she had for that work over so many years, and she waited until I grew up and was ready to sing it before she decided to do that production of Winterizer, which we did in 2011. So many memories, so many wonderful memories that I have of Pat. It's difficult to kind of summarize into a short space of time, but I know that her art and her music, her literature, everything will live on, especially with the work that Gillian, her sister, is doing. It is a real privilege to have been one of her pupils for so many years. while wise men follow through the dark, the star that beckons them. Mother tonight is rocking a cradle in Bethlehem. A little child shall lead them, the prophet said of old. In storm and tempest, heed them until the bell is tolled. Sing sweet and low a lullaby till angels say amen. Mother tonight is rocking a cradle in Bethlehem. Sing sweet and low, a lullaby till angels say amen. Mother tonight is rocking a cradle in Burns, Gillian, Auntie Jill, Miss B. So we're talking about Pat. Oh, that's a big topic for me. If it wasn't for Pat, I don't think I'd have been here. But it originally started way back when I joined the Lydians. I always thought I had a weird voice as a young person, teenager growing up, and I didn't know until there was one time I heard Eddie singing on radio, I think it was, and they called his name, and I was like, oh, that man could really sing, and this and the other. And I was like, oh jeez, I want to sing like that sometime, you know? And lo and behold, some years later, I joined the Lydians, and I hear him call his name. I was like, hey, that's the man from the radio. And Pat had him sing, and he blew me away, because I was like, I want to sing like that man. That man has a real nice voice. And a few months, yeah, about 6 or 7 months after joining Lillian's, Pat really heard my voice, and she was like, you need to sing a solo, you know, and Eddie will help you. So this time now the nerves start to kick in, because me, young, and now join, and they want me sing a solo by myself. So the nerves start. And from there, for me, it was a difference, because you know, you're seeing this big, powerful woman, and she just knew. It's like she always knew what to do, what to say, how to say it, when to say it, what you would need, how you would need it. And for me, that was magic. Because the first time singing, I was nervous, could not remember the first line of the song. But somehow, Pat got up and she said, she introduced me and she spoke about the piece that I was going to perform. And in 2 seconds, the nerves calmed down a little bit and I was able to perform. And after that is where the singing started for me. And a few years after, I started to work for her because she needed an assistant to come and help her do stuff around the house and the work. And I had just gotten out of the hospital and wasn't doing anything, so I was like, okay, I will come. And that was in the last of her years, and that was some of the best years for me. It was like 2 or 3 years, and in those years I learned so much, so much, that now looking back is like, wow, you learn so much in just 3 years, and you know, you tell yourself you know a lot before that. But Pat, she loved Christmas. I remember the first year working for her, she would start Christmas shopping in September and buying gifts. She's like, ooh, she passing a store and she sees something, ooh, this person would like that, or Gillian would like this. I don't think Gillian would like it, you know, but I like it for Gillian. And she would like it, and she'd have to like it. Christmas was a big thing for Pat, and she would go all out. For Christmas, it meant giving back, it meant doing the correct things, it just meant giving as much joy as she could have given, whether it be financially, emotionally, spiritually. She would open her house on Christmas Day and have Conrad cook up a stove, and it will have drinks and eats from as early as 9 a.m. You could come here, you could get something to eat, something to drink, the thing starts. And when everybody here and she tired, she go and she lie down in her bed. And everybody just outside and people will be passing whole day, and she would invite, she would have param music and the neighbors will come. It was just so amazing. It was like, wow. Christmas was big for her. And after Christmas Day, she would sleep whole day Boxing Day because she's tired. Pat is just an angel. Not only to me, to a lot of people, to a lot of us.
My Jesus has nowhere to lay his head. So Mary laid him in a manger bed. The star that shone that holy night still stands its rays of light. My Jesus has nowhere to lay his head. The night was very cold and bright and still. The angels sang of peace and man's goodwill. The wise men three their gifts did bring to worship Christ the King. My Jesus has nowhere to lay his head. Even the oxen knelt down to worship and pray, as my Jesus on a manger laid long, long ago. On that Christmas day, my Jesus had nowhere to lay his head. My Jesus had nowhere to lay his
Hi, I'm Lian.
And I'm Nikita.
And we are just here to sing a beautiful Christmas carol for you. We do hope you enjoy it. Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day walk on water?
Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters?
Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you
to a blind man. Mary, did you know that your baby boy would calm a storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? When you kiss your little baby, you've kissed the face of God. Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know? The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of the Lamb. Mary, did you know your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know your baby boy will one day rule the nations? Did you know that your baby boy is heaven's perfect plan? And this sleeping child you're holding is the great I am. Great I am. Mary, did you know?
Thank you so much, Gillian, for allowing us to be a part of this. Because Christmas is not simply about the presents. Christmas is not simply about the eats and the drinks. It's about those who need all of us to reach out to them and to offer a helping hand. And Gillian and friends, you all are doing a wonderful service to those children that you are donating devices to. Because as we know, the pandemic is now having our education system online, and every child deserves a fighting chance. So thank you for spreading real Christmas cheer, not just the singing, but also the action of giving. Thank you so much, Gillian and friends.
He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got the woods and the waters in his hands. He's got the woods and the waters in his hands. He's got the sun and the moonrise in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the birds and the bees flies in his hands. He's got the birds and the bees flies in his hands. He's got the beasts of the field tries in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. His body and me right in his hands. He's got you and me right in his hands. He's got everywhere in our
Greetings from cold England. I am with my friend here, Benedict Russo. We are hanging out, making black cake and all, getting all the preparations ready for the big day on Christmas Day.
After all, it's we are not home, so we don't have any pastels here yet.
No,
but we are hoping that the ladies will send for us via any form. All we are getting from away is chocolates now.
Rum chocolates.
Rum chocolates. From where?
Poland.
Yes. When I was living in Trinidad, what we normally do back home, or now we be varnishing and cleaning and painting. In the UK, there's none of that.
No.
But we keep the tradition in baking. So
we try as much.
Yes, came all the way from Brighton. So we bake black cake, 4 black cakes in the oven, baking at present, 2 sweet bread, and we have 3 coconut bake waiting to prove more and more.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In my home in Trinidad, my mother was Mrs. Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Everything had to be varnished. Everything had to be painted. Every curtain had to be bought. New curtains every year. I would say, but Bobby, we don't need to buy curtains. She said, we had up that last year. We can have it this year.
You're always changing.
Always changing. Always changing. But the baking was it. She would bake. Christmas Eve was the night of baking.
Non-stop.
Non-stop. It went on for hours.
And you had to have enough gas. Otherwise you have to go to the shop to get more gas.
My brother would be on the back step churning that ice cream at 10 o'clock in the night because it have to be set for the next day.
Yeah, and you have to go to church.
You have to go to church, so everything has to be done Christmas Eve night.
Yes. Well, everybody had to get up, bathe and shower and pelt to service. When you're after service, then you can have your breakfast and your family gathering. Very important Trinidadian culture, going to church Christmas Day.
Yes, it's a must.
Yes, it's always
find a church wherever you are. Find a church.
Where Pat Bishop is concerned, or where I can remember her, apart from her Christmas mantra, as the we in a war footing.
Oh, we are in a war footing.
Yes, she would tell the women to put on your war paint.
Yes.
In the face where you can't go up there looking greasy on the stage. Queen's Hall stage.
No noisy shoes.
Queen's Hall lights not forgiving,
No.
So, you have to have proper makeup on when you have to go on that stage.
It's the thing, the war footing was so many different things because if you did not know the words, well, you would have had to find a way of making arrangements with some friend in your section group to know who knew their part, to make extra rehearsals to have at my house mostly. My house was...
Yes, where we pound out all the notes.
All the notes were pounded out and the guys would meet at my house and we learned our parts because Pat hated us singing with the books.
Yes.
If you're looking at the book, you're not looking at her.
So you can't follow any instruction. Yes,
so
you can't follow any instruction.
Learn your words. Learn it by heart.
Yes.
It's
and
important.
Come prepared to sing.
Yes.
And it was long nights. Thursday to Sunday. And
long runs.
Yeah, and we're locking into Queen's Hall for Monday's rehearsal. Straight until the day before the actual performance. And then early on the performance night, you charge in. Pan, guitar, tassa, singers, dancers, Adele and them ready. Choreography was a big thing.
Claudia and Days, Miss C. Paul, all these different people who add a different element to the whole finished product that we see.
Yeah, Miss Rowe.
Mrs. Rowe, Miss Rowe, sorry.
Yeah, oh dear. Lots of things happen. And therefore you cannot forget anything about Pat, especially when you think about Christmas. She was a Christmas woman.
Yes, she was. She was. Her home was open to everyone.
All year through.
All year through, but especially on Christmas Day.
Yes. She would have who? Conrad, is it cooking?
Conrad cooking all day.
Oh, Conrad and fire.
Conrad
cooking for spite. And that was what it was all about. She pleasured in that.
Yeah.
Of course, Carnival as well, but she...
Christmas.
Yeah, she loves Christmas.
The choir, the music.
Yes. What I remember, especially about Pat, she loves her boys.
Yes.
So myself, Garnet, JP, Marvin, we spent a day with her. And Lindian.
Yeah.
And they told us all about what took place in Belmont in the olden times. How the panyards used to be. How things moved.
Yeah.
How where things were behind the bridge. We didn't know these things. But she enlightened us. So we recognize when we hear certain names, what it meant, where these people came from, who were the who's and hers of Woodbrook and St. James and Newtown.
Then
back in the day.
Yeah.
When you hear the names, you say, oh. So you could actually put an entire story together when Lindian and Pat have finished explaining to you the lives and music that came out of these simple panyards. And the simple oil drum could make a sweet music. Who thought that simple drum could do that? She loved everything. And she gave her whole self to the choir and to those who came in contact with her.
Pause.
Pause.
A big part of Christmas that I miss is being able to perform with Lydian singers around Christmas time. It was always such a joyous thing, you know. I remember the nights of the show themselves, like part of the wonderful experience for me was being conducted by Auntie Pat. Like when she started conducting, like you got the energy from her, you got the vibe, the inspiration, you know, because you wanted to what is the word? To please her, or to please the art form that she was presenting, using you as a vessel. I don't know if I'm saying this right. I'm not trying to be intellectual or anything, but yeah. So that is one of the main things I miss about Christmas. Yes, but traditional Trini Christmas, I miss the food, of course. The food is completely different here in Hamburg for Christmas. Totally different. I will never get used to it. Because one of the Christmas usual or traditional Christmas dishes is a sort of a red cabbage, something with potatoes, and I think it's beef or pork or so. Yes, beef. And yes, Hamburg, I love you dearly. You are my second home, but it don't cut it. So I miss my traditional food. Oh, my pastel. I miss my callaloo. You will see a little clip of me making some callaloo for the first time in Hamburg. Well, yes, I forgot to start filming from the beginning, but that is not the point. Is I made callaloo in Hamburg for the first time, so that is what I will be cooking around Christmas time. Here's a fun fact, or I don't know if it's a fun fact, but it's a fact. In Hamburg, they really celebrate Christmas on the 24th and not the 25th. So the main Christmas holiday is on the 24th, and yes, the 25th as well. So I don't know. It figures. Yeah, so that's a little different fun fact about Hamburg, Christmas in Hamburg. Of course, the weather is one. What else? Well, yes, the food, the weather. All right, what else? I can't think of anything. Press pause. Yes. So for me, Trini Christmas is still the best. Just like the song, Trini Christmas is the best, Trini Christmas is the best. Yes, because it cannot be the food, cannot be the music, the parang, the soca parang, our own original stuff. Yeah, and of course, being that is home, that is where I grew up. I was born and raised there, so family and friends and having that time as a little girl into teenager, into a young adult, etc. You know, my family was always the last week before within Christmas week is when we start to clean up. So like around the 22nd, 23rd is when we starting to clean up. So it is whole day cleaning, if you know what I mean. And then of course Christmas Eve you're up all night because curtains have to go up. My father used to be in the kitchen baking up a storm. And then still getting up early the next morning to cook. Yes, my dad was the one who loved to cook around all the time, but around Christmas time as well. So he making sweet bread, he love a ham. Christmas was in our house was not Christmas for my father if he didn't have ham, if we didn't put up the Christmas tree, if we didn't change the curtain. And this is my father. My mom loved Christmas too. But I think my dad was more the Christmas one. She was like, okay, get the presents and stuff. But my dad, ooh. So I miss that. And of course, as you get older, you start. I don't have so many traditions that I can do by myself at home. But I still love it. I still love Christmas. I've come to enjoy some of the Hamburg traditions as well. So for example, they have when you go to the Christmas markets in Hamburg during this time, they have something very popular. It's called glue wine. I'm not a fan of the glue wine, but sometimes, you know, I go out with my colleagues and friends and it's freezing cold and we there's time drinking glue wine or hot chocolate. So I have embraced some of the Hamburg or Christmas traditions as well. So anyway, I just want to thank Miss Gillian Bishop now for reaching out to me, reaching out to us, Trinis, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but who are now living abroad and who are or were very fond of Auntie Pat. And thank you for this idea, for us having to share a little bit of our Christmas where we are, and I am in Hamburg. And it's great to actually sit here and even, you know, reminisce about Miss B, Auntie Pat. It really is. You know, I'm thinking now as like during visiting her home around this time, how there would always be some different type of decoration, like, and I'd be like, ooh, so fancy schmancy. It was always an honor to go by Auntie Pat. Really, it was always an honor. Because she was so open and giving and loving, and at the same time so serious. That brought a memory in my mind. I remember one time I was learning I think it was Glitter and Be Gay, and she sat down on that chair, and I don't know what I was getting trouble with, and I just wasn't getting it right, and she just went, Jermaine, open your mouth and just sing, and And I just started to cry. And she went, and she said, I don't believe you. Those are crocodile tears. Just sing. Come, pretend you're swallowing an apple. Open that and sing. Oh my word. I mean, these are some of the things that I remember about Miss B. Like, the things that she would say, and you'd be like, huh? Oh my goodness, how could she say that? Or you might think she was so, but you trusted her because you knew that she knew what she was talking about, and that she will bring you to that perfect state of perfection. And I love her dearly. I miss her dearly. And I will always be grateful, always be grateful for her being a part of my life, because she is instrumental in my journey with singing and my career with singing. Yeah, you know, and I am ever thankful for God for sending her in my life. So I want to wish everyone in Trinidad and Tobago a very Merry Christmas, a bright and prosperous New Year. I miss you guys. I miss being home, but I'm sending love and I'm receiving your love as well. You know, let us stay safe, let us stay healthy, and let us trust God in these times. You know, it's hard when you don't understand, but we have to put our trust in God at all times and have that faith and that belief that He knows what is happening, despite what we may not understand is happening or going on in our land, in the world even. At the end of the day, He is in charge. So again, Merry Christmas, guys. And Happy New Year. I hope you enjoy all my other little clips of me sharing. I did a little, I did some Christmas songs this year, and I sent them home to be part of Lydian's virtual concert this year. So I'm sharing one with you again. So I hope you do enjoy, and mwah, 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 mwah.
That's what made a glory angel.
Pat from the time we were very, very small. I used to go to her home and play, and she would sing. I was never a singer. Pat was always a singer. I was always the pianist. We went to Mrs. Penner, an American lady who taught leader, who taught us both leader. And I'm not a singer, as I said. My sister, my younger sister, was a beautiful voice, but I was always the pianist. I went to Mrs. Penner to learn to sing. Believe me, as she heard me open my mouth, she said, "You will play." So I played, and I played, and I played, and a lot of people from Lydians used to come there. And Pat and myself were always there. I used to go to Pat's home and play for her. And I remember Pat being the head girl at Bishop's, and I was always one of her prefects. Pat was always a wonderful, wonderful person. There's nothing she couldn't do. If she didn't know how to do it, she found somebody who knew how to do it, and they did it for her. She was a wonderful person. We will all miss Pat very, very much. Thank you.
Christmas time has always been a very special moment for me, especially with the Lydians, and more so with Pat. So this season always generates a lot of love, a lot of high energy, especially when we perform on stage, whether it's at Queen's Hall or whether it's up on the Mount. The atmosphere is always a beautiful one. Being given the opportunity to even sing with the choir has been a very, very special one for me in particular, who has always been a very shy person. And it is because of Pat and her way of bringing the voice out, all of the different practices and trainings and rehearsals that she did. And it was always with the intention of letting me discover who I was. It was never like a forced thing. So she was very instrumental in that sense. Very often she would say, "Dirk, do you learn anything from me?" And I was like, well, yes, I learned everything in terms of how to be a good educator, which is what I am. And I am very appreciative to her for those lessons that she has given to me. One of the more special moments for me as well was performing in the Misa Cubana. When Gillian came to me with the music, she said, "Dirk, this music," and even up to this day she would say, "Mr. Cubana was you, and you were Mr. Cubana." And she was right in saying that, because at that time, my mom had passed in 2009, and then at the ending of 2009, when we started the rehearsals for the show, Pat spoke to me and she said, "This song is, I want you to do this song." And the first song was the Dehame. I was like, "Oh, that's a nice song, that's a nice song." But then when she heard the last song, the Plegaria, she said, "Okay, I think this song is the one you should really sing." And with that, I became married to that tune, because she told me one thing. The first night we were going to perform it, she told me, "Sing that song and think of your mother while you're singing the song." And that's all it took. And that's from then on, I pray that song. And with that, it has touched a lot of different people. They tell me they really are inspired when they hear me sing that tune. So, you know, these are the things that she has been able to give, the gift of music. And it is something that I will always continue to share. So during this season, I want you to always consider what your gifts are, and that you take time to share it with others.
la Virgen del Cobre, pasa de tempestad surgida, en mis ojos detenida, eres alivio de pena, mi fe de mi alma prendida. Virgen de la caridad, Madre de Dios, Madre de Dios, ven a verme. En tu nombre es realidad, la palma real y el sinsonte, mi mar, mi cielo, mi monte, risa de simple verdad, Virgen de la caridad. Virgen de la caridad, Madre de Dios, Madre de Dios, ven a verme. Sea mi plegaria del río que va camino a tu pecho, mi corazón sea tu lecho y tu intenso amor, mi brillo, ven a verme. Madre, Virgen de la caridad, Madre de Dios, Madre de Dios, ven a verme. Baña con tu luz mi cuerpo, purifica mis heridas, ampara mi leve vida, acompáñame en la muerte, ven a verme. Madre, Virgen de la caridad, Madre de
I've got hope when things look bad, and I can smile when I should be sad. And I've got friends who lift me up when I'm feeling low, and they watch over me wherever I may go. I've got friends in high places, so high, but not so far away. I've got friends in high places, and I'm gonna be with them someday. There's the Father, right by his Son, and all the angels, each and every one, and other friends I miss so much, and I long to see, but knowing I'll be with them one day comforts me. I've got friends in high places, so high, but not so far away. I've got friends in high places, and I'm gonna be with them someday. Why should I run? Why should I hide? What's there to fear when my friends are on my side? I've got friends in high places, so high, but not so far away. I've got friends in high places, and I'm gonna be with them. I'm gonna be with them. I've got friends in high places, so high, but not so far away. I've got friends in high places, and I'm gonna be with them. Yes, I'm gonna be with them someday.
What a treat that was. Eddie and Joanne together doing the Panis Angelicus, and Minister Dolly and her niece Nikita doing Mary Did You Know. Those are such beautiful voices, you know. And we have David Williams, and Barbara reading, not a song, not singing a song, but reading a piece from her book, Sick Transit Wagon. And then Dirk Govaya singing the Plegaria a la Virgen de la Caridad, written by Cuban composer and Lydian friend Jose Maria Vitti. Hope he's watching tonight. And then we had Jermaine all the way from Hamburg singing two Jackie Hairston Negro spiritual arrangements. And of course, Murphy Cumberbatch doing human service, accompanying people. Murphy, we love you. Ah yes, a lot of this singing took place at Alfredo Street. Plenty singing. It is now my studio. I make my jewelry there and display my jewelry there. I call it my Atelier Signature 2020. But a lot of the singers, as I said, have trained there. Pat used to train them there. And she sat in a long chair near the door, and they sang next to the piano, which is in the far corner of the room. And to this day, the piano is there. It's a kind of tribute to her and the work that went on there, in terms of singing, in terms of culture generally, in terms of mentoring. So it's a very special place, and I hope I can continue to do justice to that space. So that's the end of our show tonight. All that is left is for me to wish you the best Christmas. May it be happy, may it be holy, may it be loving. Don't eat too much now. Bye.